Good afternoon. We are so excited to be here with you all. Hope you are enjoying your summer. Things are going super fast. I am Mickey, and please help me welcome my co-host, Kim and Lorraine. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Mickey, I can't emphasize enough how much I have to sit and be like, okay, wait, what day is it? What week is it? What month is it? Because like you said, the time is just going so fast. I can't believe we're even saying the A word, August, already, because it feels like summer just started. I don't know. I can't keep up.
I don't know about you guys, but our weather here has been a little iffy. So I had a jacket on yesterday.
Oh,
So yeah, I
Wow.
know we're not having too much of a good summer here in Chicago, but it is what it is.
yeah, that's rough. A
Wow.
jacket? Okay, I
Yeah,
can't complain
yeah.
then.
Don't complain.
No.
I'm hoping things get better. I'll push some sunshine
To
down
you,
your way.
really.
Yes,
Anyway,
over your
So
way.
warm. Well, we're very excited today because we have a very special guest, and Lorraine is going to introduce her.
Yes, and I hope I do her introduction some justice because this woman has done so much within the real estate industry and just within her life in general that I'm hoping to capture all of her accomplishments today. But essentially, we're going to be introducing, or we're going to be bringing on a lady who's been doing real estate since 1986.
Oh,
She
yeah.
started in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, and for the first 20 years of her real estate journey, she managed residential and commercial properties for herself as well as family members before deciding to kind of outsource that work and use a property management company. She also is a realtor. So not only is she a coach, she's a real estate investor, she is a realtor, and she's an educator. So she's been doing this for the past 35 years, and her experience spans from training, teaching, professional development, and operations of business. So I think, again, but between the conversation that we're going to have today, we're really going to dive deep into all of her experience. So without further ado, I am very pleased to announce Dr. Akila Nayak. Hello, hello.
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 How are you ladies doing?
We are
Fantastic.
Good.
fantastic.
Thank you for being with us. We have been planning for you forever. And, so that our audience knows. So Dr. Hakila has mentored us, and
Yes.
it's been a wonderful journey to be inspired by her and to see all that she's done. She is very, very knowledgeable. And I think what I've loved the most in our interaction over the calls that we had was just how nice you are.
Yes.
You're super nice.
Absolutely.
Thank you
Absolutely. I
so much.
concur.
Yes.
Yes,
So
very
you
nice.
Yes, and again, echoing what Mickey said, we are just so thrilled to have you. So thank you so much for spending some time with us this afternoon.
Oh, yes. Thank you for the opportunity. Looking forward to it.
Yes.
Yes.
And I just want to mention something. It's a little bit off topic, not on real estate, but your garden. I've been seeing pictures of your garden. I'm totally blown away and in love. And that's it. Just want to let you know that.
And I
Yes,
She
mean,
loves
everybody asked me
gardening.
about that.
yes. And then that's just one of the many skills that Dr. Akila has. And thank you for pointing that out, Kim, because I personally do not have a green thumb, but maybe that's something else that I can learn from Dr. Akila over the years is how to grow a tomato or a cucumber, a zucchini or something,
Yes.
something
Well,
healthy.
trust me, we didn't know how to do any of that either. We had to take classes to learn,
Yeah.
and that's the secret.
Yes.
Oh, I like that.
Awesome.
So
So
let's
let's
start.
start.
Yeah,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. I think me and Mickey are like, okay, let's just dive in and get all of the knowledge that we can. So, and I sort of alluded to this a little bit before we brought you on, in terms of the many hats that you've worn throughout your life, and especially in the real estate industry. So, if you wouldn't mind, maybe if you can share with us a little bit about how you got started in real estate, or why
Mhm.
you decided to start in real estate, and maybe we can expand from there.
Sure, absolutely. So the story is, I would say, pretty unique. I think most people, when they start their journey, they have an idea of something they want, they love it, they want to experiment, and they go for it, right?
Hmm.
Mhm.
In my case, it was probably the exact opposite. Because I started so young in real estate, I didn't really understand what real estate was. So when it was presented to me by family members, I just wasn't for it. I actually was a little resistant, a little scared. And, what 19-year-old wouldn't be?
Yeah, I
Right.
mean,
You have
absolutely.
So a
since
lot
the
of
age
it,
of
I went
19.
into it not even knowing what I was getting myself into. But what really pushed me to that next level was the fact what I was doing as my source of income was something I really did not like.
Mm.
I loved the concept of business, and I learned to really love the concept of entrepreneurship
Mm.
because I didn't know I had it in me. In the
Mm.
textbooks, it sounded really good, but I really didn't know what that was. And after stepping into a business and then businesses, I found, hey, this is something that's in my blood. I can do this. But it was the type of business that was very challenging. Is childcare centers, and you're dealing
Oh.
with hundreds of kids all day long. They're great, but you're dealing with lots of adults.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's
Yes.
where I got the
Hmm.
training, right? So it was kind of like I wanted to do something else, and I felt trapped in where do I go from here? And that's when my eyes opened up a little bit where the real estate was concerned is you have to look at the long-term effect. And that's what I did. It wasn't about cash flow. The strategy was to build up for future cash flow.
Hmm.
Okay.
So that's what sort of got me started. And so I poured my heart and soul into my business so that I could transfer that over to real estate as I went along, because you do need a source of income in order to
Yeah.
do
Yes.
that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, what goals did you set? I mean, I know you said you started off at age 19, which is pretty young. And
Yeah.
Super young.
yeah,
Yes.
like talk about mindset at 19. It's like, this is what I want to do. That's amazing. What goals did you set? Did you set your goals then, or did you like work up to setting your goals?
I'm going to tell you, at 19, I did not have a single goal with regard to it. I still remember that first property. I remember the address. I remember painting it. I remember cutting the grass, total technician level,
Yes.
looking around going, why am I buying a house for somebody else to live in? That concept just wasn't clear to me. So I really couldn't set any goals around that. My goals were more centered around the business. So I'm going to say it took me probably about 4 years
Mhm.
in early 20s before it really hit me that I got to get out of this. I want to do what I want to do. I want to work, but I want to work doing the things I enjoy. I don't want to be the person that goes to school, has a job, and even as an entrepreneur has to do something, and
Hmm.
then you don't have those other choices and you're not feeling that inner fulfillment,
Right.
which is
Mhm.
lacking. So the goals came more in the mid 20s. And at that point, it was okay, if I can work my way up to buying one property a year or one every 2 years, I'll be good. Back then, when I said that, I did not know about all of these other vehicles to grow wealth and real estate that I learned along the way. That, hey,
Hmm.
you could actually have one property, market's very favorable. Several years go by, you could sell it and exchange it into two properties
Hmm.
Yes.
and just continue to grow that way. So the goals had to be worked out, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
depending on the market and the situation at that time. And it changes all the time.
So
I think
how
I
did
would. Oh, I'm
you
sorry. Go ahead, Mickey.
No, no, I just wanted to ask, like, so now you're like 4 years into that journey and you're understanding a little bit more things. Did you have any help? Because we have you to call and to answer our questions, right? Was someone there for you?
It's very interesting. That is a question I get all the time. So at that time, I did not have coaches. I wish I knew
Uh-huh.
what a coach was and the value of a
Yeah.
coach, because the role they serve is different than the mentor, than
Yeah.
Mhm.
the teacher, right? So you have an apprenticeship, you have mindset, and then you have education.
Yes.
So I had a little bit of the education. I did not have any time to attend any seminars or anything because I was just loaded with 14 hours a day, 5 days a week, working in that business because I was present every day. So I had people I could call upon. And actually, one of them, I was just thinking about her this morning. She was the first and very long term realtor that I worked with. And I leveraged
Wow.
her expertise. And it's
Nice.
kind of interesting because she was with Long and Foster. And I never in a million years would have imagined being with Long and Foster today myself.
Wow.
And she was just a classy realtor, and I could call upon her all the time for questions, answers, that bad day you have when you hear your property got broken into or something
Mhm.
else and you just want to like melt into 15 pieces. That would
Yes.
be the person I could pick up the phone and I could call. And I also had some family members I could also rely on. And so that was great. But the missing piece for me, I realized looking back, was I did not have a formal coach, a once
Mm,
a week accountability coach,
Mhm.
and I did not have the step by step teaching. And
Do you
that's what I found I discovered in myself, that I'm able to break it down for people.
And it's so funny that you mentioned that because as Mickey and Kim both mentioned, I mean, we've talked about this on prior episodes too, like the importance of building a great team and having that support and that mentorship and the coaching
mm,
behind you. And we know that now, and similar to what you mentioned, who even knew about those particular pieces being in place when you first got started? I mean, you were super
exactly.
young, you were so ambitious, and like just basically just wanting to do real estate, not necessarily understanding that there's so many other components involved in starting a real estate business, right? It's not just finding the
Mhm.
property, getting the contractors, and then doing the fix and flip. There's so many other pieces involved. And so I guess what I'm curious to know is, back then, I mean, this is still mostly male dominated industry, right? So I'm sure
Mm.
even back then it was even more male dominated. So I don't know if maybe you could share a little bit about your experience of how you found a way to break the mold and kind of make a name for yourself, and basically build your experience in the real estate industry when there was even more challenges for women in this industry back then.
Yes, very challenging. And, that's why when I hear people say, I don't know how to speak to a contractor, I have to laugh because that was probably really scary. That was
Mm.
probably one of the scariest things, is again figuring out, how am I going to communicate to these people that I need to do the work I don't know how to do, because I was always believing, hey, if you want to get something done, do it yourself.
Right.
Yes.
Don't delegate it and have it totally messed up, and then you have to do it again, all over again, right? It's duplicitous. So one of the first things I learned very quickly about myself is actually from a staff member that worked for me. And she taught me the power of understanding people and the psychology.
Mm.
And I remember her pulling me aside saying, I don't have any formal education or anything, but I have street smarts. And I said, okay. And I said, and
Yes.
she showed me how to get people to do their jobs and do them well. And she said, you have to understand people and you have to build relationships.
Yeah.
And for me, I realized that came very easy because I could connect with people. And treating people equally across the board, no matter what their role is, like a human being, makes a huge difference. So that's what helped me sort of break through those barriers of a male dominated industry. Because when you're working in real estate, you're talking to 95% men.
Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Contractors, managers, you mention it. Uh, Mortgage industry, didn't matter who I was dealing with, the bank or the roofer. It was always
Yes.
the male. And so I just learned very quickly that they're human beings, no different than me. And that even if I crossed somebody that maybe didn't quite understand and they wanted to hold that against me, that I was a female and I was on top of it young. They were used to
Yes.
Yes.
dealing with women
Yes.
double my age.
Yeah.
Yes.
And here I am telling them in 20 something to do something. And it took a while for me to understand it wasn't what I was saying, it was how I needed to.
Mm.
And that made a huge difference back then. And it became almost similar to the kids, where I don't see a difference, no matter who I'm
Mm.
dealing with. That's how kids are, right? They're innocent. That's what that business taught me is they're looking through the eyes of innocence, accepting people exactly as they are, not labeling them. And that made a huge difference for me. And I didn't have any problems after that.
I think that's actually very powerful to even to just to come to that realization, because I'll
Yes.
even say, just for me personally, I mean, thinking back to when I was 19, 20, and actually just even first thinking about running a business, much less getting into a male dominated industry. And then I'm the one that's running the show. So understanding, okay, I can't shy away from this opportunity. I have to step up and actually prove that, listen, even though I might be young, I might be a woman, I actually do know what I'm doing. I might not know all the ABCs of how to plaster a wall or something like that, but I know the operational aspect of how things are going to go, and this is what's going to carry me through. So I just think that that's super impressive, because it's easy to just fall back and be like, oh well, they're not going to listen to me, so I guess this is not the industry for me. But to fight and say, no, I know this is where I'm supposed to be and this is what I want to do, so I just have to figure out, I have to pivot or sort of adjust and make this work for me. So
Absolutely.
it's really,
Absolutely. And that's where that emotional intelligence comes in. Because you
I
Mm.
have to
like
park
that.
your emotions and really sit back and think through. And again, that goes back to having that coach in your life. I had to
Yeah.
be my own coach. I had to seek out my own resources. I mean, I did Tony Robbins' first program, and it was on cassette tape.
I can imagine that on cassette.
What is
When the kids were napping, I had the cassette tape in, and I was taking notes. That was my coach. So
nice?
back
Nice.
in the 80s, Tony Robbins on cassette tape. That's how I
You know,
survived.
he is still powerful. You know,
Yeah.
he is like the bomb into that domain. He's like
It
wonderful.
is. It is. So I couldn't
Wow.
see him or anything. I couldn't even afford to go to an event, much less take the time off. So I'd pop those cassette tapes in and take my notes and review them and repeat things to myself. And that's how I would keep all of this straight. Again, it's the emotional intelligence, right? And realizing that you have to improve.
Yes,
Yeah. I mean,
absolutely.
since you've worn so many hats and you have so much experience, like what are some of the scariest things that have happened
Ooh, I want to know
over,
that.
Wow.
over your career?
So many of them. You want to hear my property horror story?
Just one.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Yes.
I used to tell this story at the community college because I would have students in the class that were business majors and they would come in and go, I want to be a property manager. And
Mm.
I go, okay, that sounds really good. And I think it's great. No matter what you want to do, I think it's great. I encourage people to do it because it's not about me, it's about them, right?
Yes.
But I like people to go in with their eyes wide open.
Mm.
Because when you're realistic, then you can face those challenges and find solutions, right? Otherwise, you're going to just be in shock. So the story I told them was about a property that I owned in Virginia. And the person that I was working with, the contractor, he's in Maryland. So he didn't really go into Virginia. And I didn't really need anything that often in Virginia. And it was literally just over the bridge because I was right there at the bridge. And I had so much a problem with this property because it was rented by a bunch of guys that were there. And the Coast Guards was right across the street. So it was ideal location. So, they would move positions, come back, somebody else would come back. It all was great. Until one day the rent stopped coming, right? So it was trying to figure out who's actually there. Long story short, they finally left and somebody needed to go to the property, right? Because first things you do is you change the locks.
Right.
And because it was in Virginia, he couldn't get out there very quickly. It was one of those things we had to schedule. So I kept saying to myself, I'm going to just jump over the bridge, put my eyeballs on this. And it never happened because every time I tried to get into the car to go over there, there was always something happening. And that diverted the attention. So a couple of days went by and it ended up that he ended up going.
Okay.
So a couple of days went by, he went and he calls me from the property and he says, everything's fine. Everything's good. Just have a little minor problem. Just wanted to see what you wanted me to do about it. And I'm like, okay, what could it be, right? I was like, okay, what is it? And he goes, well, when I came in, there was a 6-foot long, very hungry boa constrictor on the kitchen
floor. What? No, we don't do snakes.
Yeah, we don't do snakes.
Wow.
So I said, you know what? He said, I was going to pick it up, put it in the back of my truck, and take it to the nature center. I said, that's a great idea. And he goes, do you want to see it? I said, no.
No.
Bring it here and don't kill it, but go ahead and take it to the nature center. So he loaded up in the truck and he ended up not coming to where I was at the one daycare. He went to the other daycare center so the kids could see.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I was freaking out. So
I wouldn't even know.
He takes it to the Clearwater Center and he calls me. He goes, you sure you want me to leave the snake here? I'm like, why? He said, the snake is worth $600.
Oh,
it's in excellent condition and it's hungry. I said,
excellent.
He sounds like he wants to take the snake home.
I want to see it. So back then we didn't have the lovely technology we have right now. So I had a Polaroid picture given to me the next day by him. And I thought, thank God I did not go and put my eyeballs on that property.
I might have passed out right at the door like,
I probably would have screamed at the top of my lungs and the whole neighborhood would have heard me.
That is pretty scary.
Yeah, so is that scary enough?
Yeah, I think that's up there, top 10.
That's taller than me. Like, I don't need, oh no.
Taller than me
no,
too.
No.
So yeah, you just got to be prepared. Anything can happen in real estate.
But where does that even come from? I don't even understand.
It was a pet.
They got out of the glass aquarium container.
Also,
pet said,
people
I'm hungry.
They move without their pet.
They moved without their pet.
Well, how many places are going to take a snake as your pet? I mean, that limits your options if you're moving.
Like 6 feet long. That's huge.
Yeah.
So that poor baby ended up at the Clearwater Nature Center, and I'm sure they were very appreciative of that.
Oh, wow.
So, I don't think it should have left the center in the first place, but you know.
One man's junk is another man's treasure.
I guess, but if I would have heard that story, I might have considered changing careers. Like maybe property management isn't for me. Just, you know.
You should have seen the look on the students' faces. It was just priceless. And one of the students said, "You just had to go there, didn't you?" And I said, "You know what?
Yeah.
I want you to go in with your eyes wide open. When you go into a property, you don't know what you're going to find. Just be prepared."
But you know
Yes.
that's so true. Like be prepared because we live in such a wonderful, weird world. Like
Yes.
you have it's super colorful. Like my market, we do business in Baltimore, and I mean those row houses. Like once in a while, we find some that are like rat infested. And trust me, I do not like rat, mice, anything that has like little four legs and a long tail does not match with me.
Oh,
And
except for dogs, maybe, or cats.
dogs are fine, but those tiny thing, mind you, the rat is as big as cats, so it doesn't.
That's true.
It's just it just gets me, and it's just Luckily now we are in a habit of having masks, so now I will double mask, triple mask, and now I have even plastic bags in my car so that we can, you know, put them on our feet because sometimes the carpet might be like squishy with things. It's intense. Like people need to
Yes.
know what they're entering. Like go ahead, wide
Yeah.
eyes open. Like ask,
Exactly.
like ask your questions. How is your day as a real estate investor? The good and the bad, right? Because we will
Yes.
share it with you. We will tell you the
Mhm.
real thing. It's not HDTV.
Exactly. Exactly. So you want both sides of it. I mean, there's
Yes.
great sides of it too, but you want the reality of it.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
It's not all glory.
No, it's not all
No, no,
glory.
not all the time. So where are you now in your career?
Well, let's see. I'm still wearing a lot of hats.
Yes,
Yes.
you are.
You haven't outsourced those things yet?
Yeah, so my real estate business definitely has a lot of hats, and I enjoy all of them. So,
Mm-hmm.
yes, I am a realtor, still an investor, and looking to continue to diversify, and definitely an educator. So, I love teaching business classes still, so that's definitely a part of
Wow.
it. And of course, coaching comes with it. And to me, they're all related.
They
Yeah.
are.
There's no
Mhm.
Yes.
separation. They're part of who you are. And I think that's the best part when you have the experience and you can freely share that with people
Mm.
so that they can figure out where's my place in this, right? I have
Mm-hmm.
interest in real estate, but you can't do everything in real estate. I haven't done everything in real estate. There are parts of it that I have not ventured into, and there are parts that I am still learning about even after 35 years.
Mhm.
I
Where's
think
some of
one
your,
thing that I'm sorry, Kim, go ahead.
no, you can.
I was just gonna say, one thing that, like, as you mention the different hats that you've worn throughout your journey within real estate, I guess one thing I'm curious about is what triggered the additional hat. So, like, okay, you started as an investor. What triggered
Mm.
the decision to say, okay, maybe I should get my real estate license, or what triggered the thought maybe I should get into property management? Was it just the way that the business flowed, or does it enhance one part of your skill set versus the other? I'd just be curious to know that.
You're like, what came before?
Yeah, chicken or the egg,
Oh,
or
Yeah.
yeah.
that.
That's a great question. And definitely there is a timeline. And definitely some of the reasons are apparent, some of them are not, that I'm still discovering. So the first hat that came was the investor hat. So the business allowed me to get into real estate. So that
Okay.
was really the first hat of real estate, was the investor end. The property management part came when I was driving back from University of Maryland as a student. I stopped over, and back then we had the pagers where
Huh.
you get
Oh,
buzzed, but you don't have a phone to call anybody.
wow.
So instead of calling back, I just stopped by. It was a property management company that family members were using. And because I didn't know anything about real estate, I just signed a bunch of papers and paid some money. And next thing you know, I've got a property management company. I stopped over there to see what they needed. And
Okay.
when I stopped over there, I got something to the effect of, this tenant called and said the toilet is leaking. what do you want us to do? I said, I think call the plumber. Really, that's how I felt. I was like, I mean, isn't this what you're supposed to do for me?
Yeah.
And so that was like the first time I kind of left going, why would anybody use a middleman to get that kind of a phone call? Am I missing something? Maybe this is the way it works. I don't know. I started questioning it. And I'm going to say it was probably maybe 6 months. I'm going to take a guess that it was probably about 6 months after that. I came to the point where I got another one of those calls, and it was in the middle of the hustle and bustle of the day with, screaming kids and people in the background. And I was like, I just can't do this anymore. If I have to give direction for things, then I'm just going to do it myself.
Right.
And so I did that. I pulled the plug on it. I started doing it myself. And it's kind of funny, but my office was the size of probably a closet. All of the space in that daycare was taken up by the kids, the staff, the kitchen, the playground. And they built this building with, it's like a shoebox, literally. And I used to feel like, why is this thing so small? It's just so ridiculous. And I wanted the glamorous big office. But it's really kind of funny that I actually had a family member visit. And the first thing they said is, oh, is this the cockpit? Oh. And I went, what? He goes, is this where all the action happens, the cockpit? And that's when it struck me that I was running 2 businesses and the property management and everything out of that one little shoebox.
Nice.
So I started to do that. I realized that the skills that you needed to do that were the exact same skills you needed to run a daycare center, talk to people, to talk to contractors. And I just started doing it myself. And some more time went by. And then, of course, family started to notice. She's not paying us for money anymore. And I started taking on theirs. So we just worked together as we say, the team. And hey, I don't have time to go to courthouses and auctions and pick up properties. And I don't have time to necessarily rehab them fully for rentals. So you guys do the acquiring and fix them up. I'll buy them from you, and I'll just keep doing what I do best, which is run the business, and I'll manage properties in exchange.
It sounds like it kind of just fell into your lap. Yeah. I mean,
it's not about the money. That's the thing that I learned early on is not about the money. You can make it where you're getting something that you couldn't do yourself in exchange, something that doesn't really add any more extra time on your day. You can do in exchange. And so that's what I did. That's how I built up being able to do the property management. I just never formally went the next level of saying, hey, I'm going to form this company, because I really didn't want to manage other people's properties.
Right.
So that's how that hat came on. And then later on, towards the end of my entrepreneurship with the childcare industry, I went back to school. After 12 years, I went back, got my MBA.
Wow.
And my kids were getting older. Also, they saw me go through school, and then I went back and got my PhD.
Nice.
Hey.
That's how the educator hat came on, as I realized I had been working on curriculums and designing programs for early childhood education. And I would help school-age children with their homework. And we were producing some really good kids that could read and write, and they were way ahead of all the other public school kids. And so that's how I got into the educator aspect of the business courses, because of the PhD. There was some time lapse in between, because I had to transition a little bit out of the business. So once I was fully out of that, some time went on where I could breathe and catch up. And then I started teaching at the community college, and I started teaching at University of Maryland. So that hat came on. And then that eventually led to several years gaps again, realizing that teaching is my passion, and that business and real estate were vehicles to help me realize that. And combined all of that led me to coaching. And
Nice.
all of
Wow.
it's the same in many
Wow.
aspects. With a little tweak here, a little tweak, there's a difference, but overall it's all the same thing. Comes from the same passion.
Mhm.
So
Wow.
that timeline hopefully makes sense. And then the realtor part, that got added on in the last 2 years
I
because
remember that. And I was
Yeah, me
thinking like,
too.
what?
so that came on because of coaching, realizing that you are always a student for life
Yes.
and you always need the education. And I wanted to go and see, hey, what does this side of the transaction look like?
Right.
And it was very eye-opening, and that added on to it. So it's really knowing that you love something and exploring a different area of it. That's all.
Now, I
Wow.
know that there are lots of students who you've taught and coached. What is it about your style of, I guess, teaching that
Hmm.
that 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 they keep calling back for more? Because
Yes.
everybody
Right.
loves you.
Yes,
I
she's
hear nothing but good
amazing.
things about you.
I've had to sit back and kind of think about that because I wasn't quite sure. And so I started actually asking people, what is it that makes you want to continue? Because I want to know. And if it's something that you're consciously doing, you would know what it is, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
And I couldn't put my finger on it because it wasn't conscious on my part. It was just kind of flowing through me. And so I would say partly it's the energy and the drive. Is I have a lot of energy.
Mhm.
And I always tell them, look, I'm not as young as you, but I still have my energy and I have the passion. It comes from within. And also the ability to identify how each individual learns.
Mm.
So each person I work with, it's not on the same level, even though it's the same topic
Right.
Hmm.
in terms of business, real estate, mindset. But each person needs to hear the information differently for it to stick.
Mm.
And I think that's where the ability comes from, is to be able to have the intuition to really connect to them. And therefore it's individualized and it just seems to happen automatically. I can tell.
Yeah. I mean, and
It
it shows.
is true. I know it's true for me, right? Like
Yeah.
in any coaching session that we had together, I've always loved it. I've always came out very inspired, uplifted with specific goals that were mine to work on and very clear. Actually, the clarity. That's what I've gained from the coaching calls that I had with you was coming out of there and having clarity, which is a huge thing for me, right? For me in my personal life, but in my business as well, just having that clarity, that direction of where do I want to go now. And so that's what all of our coaching sessions have brought to me. And that's what I loved about you.
I would agree with that. And I would also add that I think it's just the genuine empathy that you
Also.
express when
Mhm.
when you're talking with someone. I mean, we could be, just sharing like our worst and you're like, oh no, it's okay. I mean, we'll just, and you'll take the positivity out of everything and then really spin it and make you sort of look at something from a different perspective. And I think that's the most crucial thing, because when you're especially when you're new in business and when you feel like everything is just going the wrong way, having someone give you that different perspective or that different point of view to be like, well, did you think about it from this perspective? And it's just like, oh, you know what, I didn't, because we're so wrapped up in what's
Mhm.
happening in the now that we don't really look at, okay, well, maybe we can switch it around to affect us this way or that way. So I think just the empathy and the positivity on the mindset shift that you sort of or I don't know, and I don't know what it is, but it's just like, and you realize, you don't even realize you're doing it because you just do it so naturally. It's just part of
Yes.
your personality, that it's your temperament that really kind of, I think, keeps me coming back. That's
I
for
think
sure.
it's all those cassettes of Tony Robbins.
That's true.
Oh, yeah, those cassette tapes came in handy.
Yeah.
I think it was also one of those valuable lessons I learned early on.
Yes.
I was fortunate enough to be always surrounded by people that were wiser than me, much
Oh,
older than
that's
me. Look at
good.
my realtor. I'm 1920s and she's already approaching 70s.
Oh wow. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
and I had
That's
also
some experience and wisdom.
elderly uncle that was also very wise. And I remember having those terrible days that I hear about from other people.
Hmm.
And I remember one day telling him about it. And he's like, "What's so awful?" And I was telling him everything that had happened. You know how we get wrapped up in our little stories and we just can't stop. We just
Yep.
go on and on and on, churning it. And that's what I was doing, not realizing I was causing my own pain by doing that. And he said to me, "The choice is yours. Every morning when you walk in that door, you control the energy in that place, not the people that work for you, not your customers, not the kids,
Mm.
but you. You make that choice of how you want that day to go." And I never really thought about it that way. And as I went through everything, including my degrees, one of the things that stood out for me is I want to be that professor that I wish I had. I want to be that coach I wish I would have had. I want to be that mentor I wish I would have had. I want to be that realtor I wish I would have had. What are the things that I would have wanted? And
Mm.
those are the things you give, because it's in giving that you receive. And I think that's what it is when I hear people and their challenges and their stories, I always think about how I felt and I can connect to that. But more
Mm.
importantly, what do I wish somebody would have told me other than you're thinking the wrong way, or you have a bad attitude, or whatever it may be, right? Or you're harping on this. That doesn't help us. It
Yeah.
doesn't help us snap out of that, amygdala that's flying all over the room. What helps us pull us together is the compassion, the empathy, the love, and the authenticity coming from someone.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, we talk about coaching here a lot. We're like big proponents of coaching. So I can hear your passion for it. And now I
Yes.
mean, now I see, I have that clarity now that why everybody keeps coming back.
Yes. Yes.
And that's very important. And you're right on one thing, because that's really important to me, is that you show that you care, but it's real caring.
Mm.
It's not the words, it's the feeling.
Yes.
Remember, people will always remember how you make them feel. They don't necessarily listen to the words, it's the feeling.
Yes.
Yeah. Because we're all kind of like mesmerized,
Yes, we are.
when you speak. So it's I can see it all. I can see it all. Is there
I
anything you would
hope.
tell your 20-year-old self or your 19-year-old self now?
Yes, that's exactly what I tell people. Exactly what I would have told my 19-year-old self, my 20-year-old self. And I've had a 19-year-old on my calls, and I'm like, wow, who arranged this? How did that happen, right?
No, I think everything that you've shared with us today is just not only just incredible, the fact that the journey that you've been on since you were a teenager, but just also inspirational, that even though we might be at different places within our businesses now, just keep pushing forward, keep with your coaching, keep with your mentoring, or find someone that you align with, a coach or a mentor, to kind of bring you through the trenches. But this was just super inspiring for me, and I'm just so happy you're here.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, don't be afraid to change.
Yeah.
People start off on a path and they're so afraid to change. And I always tell them, it's okay to change. Change is part of life. That's inevitable. My real estate business doesn't look anything like it looked when I was in my 20s. Nothing like that. So things change and you can change with it. And that's okay too.
Mm.
Yep.
So true. And Kim, I can echo your feeling. It's like we're walking on sacred ground here.
I know.
I'm like listening and like, please remember, please remember.
I've lost my train of thought so many times, just listening to you. I'm like, you have
So
to
many gems being dropped.
Yeah, like luckily it's recorded and we can
Yes.
all re-listen to it, pause, take notes. Like I wish I would have taken notes. Like at this point, I'm like, too late. But I will re-listen to you. So thank you, Eton. That was
Yes.
You're
such
so
a
welcome.
beautiful interview. Thank you.
very inspirational, and we totally grateful that you were here to share your stories and your experience, and we look forward to seeing all of your gardening.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Yes. And I don't know, maybe we can, well, I know you post a lot of your gardening. You're very active on social media. So maybe if you wouldn't mind, we can share some of your social media information. So if people want to reach out to
Yeah.
you or,
To connect.
share their experiences, I think that would be super helpful.
Sure, absolutely.
All
Awesome.
right.
Well, ladies, this was lovely, and we do this every Thursday at 4
Yep.
p.m. Eastern. So until next Thursday, Dr. Akila, it was a pleasure, and we would love to have you
Absolutely.
back soon.
Yes, thank you very much.
So know your why.
Know your heart.
And know your purpose. Thanks for joining, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.